Welcome, adventurers. Today I turn this into this. I was going for a hardcore Mad Max, Wasteland, Necromunda kind of ash waste sort of thing. Took off all the parts I didn't want for this build to give me lots of greebles for future builds. I wanted just the chassis and the cab for this one, and so that's what I ended up with. And a surprise for everyone is that I do this entire build in the metric system. It's all millimeters and centimeters, mostly centimeters. But I cut cardstock, the medium density chipboard, actually, and superglue it to the existing frame to fill in the gaps. There's holes in the side, and where the original axles went through were really large. And so I just cover all that up with cardboard. Not terribly exciting, but it's what I do. I wanted some extended fenders here, big old mud flap style things. So off about 3.5 centimeters, and I figured out by placing it in the wheel well where I wanted it, how long I wanted them, and then cut them off, glued them in, shaped them a little bit. Now I needed wheels. The original wheels are kind of dinky, but these Final Faction, dune buggy things have wheels. So with 2 sets of those, I take the wheels and glue them together. They give me beefy, like kind of off-road sort of tires for this build. And I actually use the axle, for the axles, the knitting needles from the dollar store as well. Easy to cut. They take super glue and acetone glue very well. Now I want a ram prowl for this, and I wanted something that had a natural, nice curve to it. And well, let's spend a lot of time hacking and trimming away at a laundry soap bottle to get there. It takes a while, a lot of doing. Ultimately, I end up splitting it. And then I fill in some of the gaps with more cardstock. Get a shape that I like. Still keep that natural curve to it, which is awesome. And using this cardstock, and I cut it to follow the curve of each piece. Just with a little trial and error, honestly. Put it on there, mark it with a pen, cut it, then kind of super glue it all together. Now I've got these awesome Plastruck I-beams. I've had them for a long time, and I've not really wanted to use them too much because a lot of what I've been doing is scratch building. But since this toy is made out of the same kind of plastic, it actually takes the acetone glue really well. So this is glued together with model cement. And there you go. I cut out notches for the I-beams as part of the ram prow, and also what this thing is kind of bolted to. Made some nasty looking blade things for the hubcaps. Put some of my leftover corrugated metal and a piece of cardstock on the roof to cover up the holes where the little sound buttons were. And using some more Plastruck cardstock, I make a vented kind of grate window for the front. And using this mesh, this sculptor's mesh, I create good scale model screens for the side. A couple leftover pieces of this go to cover the back window a little bit, kind of haphazardly, and also to cover up some original mounting points for some of the parts that were originally connected to it. And these little kind of sequiny things actually glued real well with the acetone glue too, so I used that. Using some more leftover cardstock and some plastic from that Plastruck strips I cut, I make a vented side port. And then, doing my best bill making stuff impression, I try to make some dotted rivets there. I'm not him. No, it's just too much. I've tried twice now. I can't do it. I wanted the frame to be built by somebody who had access to a welder and a bunch of steel pipe. That had probably no idea how to use a welder. And so they built this thing. Scrap metal with holes cut or rusted into it. Kind of haphazardly bolted into place, like so. And then, of course, some reinforcing chains because the original weld jobs probably weren't the best. And I just kind of super glue that in place, wrap it around in a fashion to make it look like somebody did not know what they were doing and were just trying to, well, wrap chain around some pipes to hold some more pipes up because they were worried about falling to their death at highway speeds. And of course, a drag hook. So when you ram that vehicle out of your way, you can drop this hook and snag the carcass of that vehicle and drag it back to your stronghold and, well, do whatever Necromunda gangs do with them at their stronghold. I'm assuming disassemble them and build other vehicles like this, because reasons. Then I base it in black, zenithal with a gray, and cover it with a rust base color. And it did a really good job because it was a thin coat of the rust. And so it does transition well from light at the top to dark at the bottom. And of course some masking fluid that I can remove later after I apply various paints to give me a very natural looking chipping technique. Of course, if anybody's seen like construction equipment, it's often yellow, so I paint the plow yellow like it's construction equipment. But I did not put on a white base coat first because I want it to look faded and chipped and old. I don't want it to be 100% solid coverage because I think it would look better. It's more believable that it's been out in the wastes. Now this is actually a lime green that looks very much like the yellow on camera. Once it dries, obviously you can see it a little bit better. A little gray for the corrugated metal. And then remove some of the chipping medium. See how it works. It really is as simple as just rubbing your thumb on it. I mean, you can use a stiff brush, but I find this works pretty well. Now I'm going to use my expensive rust paints to do a light, or a kind of a medium dry brushing, and then a very light with the lighter one over everything. And it's primarily because I don't have those colors and other stuff, and I don't really feel like mixing. Then a even lighter dry brush of metallic silver over the whole thing to show where metal has chipped and scraped over time, because oddly enough, a lot of rusted metal also has shiny bits. Then of course your ubiquitous black wash over everything to kind of bring it together. Black for the tires, just matte black, because it doesn't have to be more complicated than that, and we want it to look like tires. And then a golden brown dry brush over the tires I just painted black, which were already a rusty brown color. The rusty brown wasn't the right color of beige for like a sandy, dusty environment, so that's what this is. Now I want to thank my patrons, HM Girl Potpourri and LAJ. Without their help, some of this definitely would not be happening, so I appreciate their help. You too can help by becoming a patron. And here's the finished result. I think it actually turned out pretty good. I did a little bit of edge highlighting with silver on some of the metallic pieces, especially that are the blades and the ram prowl there, the hooks, to kind of give them a little more character in life. Here you can see a gang can easily crowd up on there. Plenty of room for large and small models. Action shots from various angles. So you can see there's actually plenty of space to put characters. You can use this obviously for role-playing and for wargaming. Here it is next to my first war wagon. Maybe they're in the same gang. Maybe this one's trying to overtake that other one. That's going to be a fight. Well, thank you for watching. I'll go have an adventure in crafting.